58 facts about the U.S. economy from last year, 2015, that are almost too crazy to believe. Michael Snyder wrote this for the Economic Collapse blog.com. And it's pretty astonishing. 62% of all Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings account. 21% of Americans have no savings account whatsoever. Fewer than 10% of millennials and only 16% of Gen Xers have more than 10 grand saved up. 43% of all American households spend more than they make every month, which means that 43% of American households are continually getting more and more in debt. For the first time ever, the middle class of America now makes up a minority of the population. Back in 71, it was 61% of Americans. According to the Pew Research Center, the median income of middle-class households declined by 4% just over the last 14 years, just since George Bush became president. Median wealth for middle-class households dropped an astonishing 28% just over the last 15 years. So if people's wealth is dropping 28%, middle-class households, their wealth, that's what they've got stashed away or the value of their home, things like that. Part of that, of course, is the drop in housing values. But part of it is that, wages haven't been keeping up. And people are going deeper in debt. There are still 900,000 fewer middle-class jobs in America than there were when the recession began in 2008. Many of them have been replaced by minimum wage jobs. For each of the past 6 years, more businesses have closed in the United States than have opened. Prior to 2008, this had never happened before in the entire history of the United States. And this is why we wrote the crash of 2016. The crash of 2016 just kind of lays out all this stuff and says, we've got a serious structural problem here. And if we don't roll back Reaganomics, and for that matter, frankly, Clintonomics, if we don't roll this stuff back and go back to Keynesian economics that we were operating under from 1932, 1933 until 1981, if we don't go back to Keynesian economics, you can kiss the middle class goodbye. The top 0.1% of all American families have about as much wealth as the bottom 90%. The 20 wealthiest people in this country have more money than the poorest 152 million, poorest bottom half. This was an astonishing number for me, particularly speaking as somebody who moved out of I moved out of my parents' house when I was 16, and so did my wife, for that matter. And now, 48.8% of all 25-year-olds in America still live with their parents. About half of all 25-year-olds still live with their parents. It's amazing. In 2007, 1 out of every 8 children in America was on food stamps. Today, that was in 2007. Today, it's 1 out of every 5. Number of homeless children in the United States has increased by 60% just over the past 6 years. Now, I know that Republicans love to cite this and blame it on Obama, but I would clearly lay the blame for this at the foot of this austerity-driven Republican Congress. More than half of all students in our public schools qualify for public school lunches because they live below the poverty line. Today, the average U.S. household that has at least one credit card has approximately $16,000 in credit card debt. 41% of all working-age Americans either currently have medical bill problems or are paying off medical debt. Collection agencies are harassing 30 million of us right now. I'm among them because my health insurance company will not pay for an emergency room visit, which was a perfectly legitimate visit. And this just makes me crazy. The Economic Collapse blog.com, another piece by Michael Snyder. He says, did you know that there are 5 too-big-to-fail banks in the United States that each have exposure to derivative contracts in excess of $30 trillion? The U.S. big banks, the 5 biggest too-big-to-fail banks, have $247 trillion in exposure to derivatives right now. Now, for context, the entire world economy is $65 trillion. And 5 of our 5 largest banks have $247 trillion worth of derivatives. That's nuts. I mean, that goes beyond nuts. That's nuts. To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.